Not one, not two, not even three, but 4 different areas of potential tropical development. But will any of them actually develop? Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back at Meteo Mundo. Great to see you on a Wednesday. Coming up in this video, our disturbance of the Caribbean moving right over Jamaica now, bringing some very heavy rain and gusty winds. We'll look at that, other active areas of weather across our region on this Wednesday. We'll talk about where the disturbances are moving and which ones actually have a chance to get a little bit stronger. You know, I love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comment section below where you're viewing from, what the weather has been like. I'm sure some of you have had a very active Wednesday. As we get this video started, probably the first thing I should address is this bandage on my face. Earlier today, I did have to have a little biopsy done on a potential skin cancer here. Now, it wouldn't be my first, and the good news is it's a very highly treatable form, but it happened so recently that I just wasn't able to take the bandage off and cover it up for today. It's still too raw. By tomorrow, though, the bandage should be gone. I should be able to conceal it, and if folks watching tomorrow didn't watch today's video, they wouldn't even know it was there. But again, if I didn't address it, I would imagine there'd be some questions in the comments. And again, just a reminder, get your skin checked. So what do you say we get going right now with what's happening with this disturbance? Because it is beginning to bring some pretty windy and rainy weather, especially to Jamaica, portions of the peninsula of Jamaica, the southern sides of Cuba, that'll be moving into portions of the Cayman Islands as well. So this is our satellite data, really beginning to see this set in over Jamaica. It's been a wet day and the winds have really begun to crank up. Take a look at these wind gusts over Kingston in just the last couple of hours. We peaked at a 53-mile-an-hour wind there at the harbor, still a 46-mile-an-hour wind. So, I mean, could that knock down some trees? Could that cause some power problems? Absolutely, especially along the immediate coast from Morant Bay on over towards Kingston and Portmore and Spanish Town, areas like that, out towards Old Harbor and Maypen. But again, this is just the beginning. This is going to be a very wet, active afternoon into the evening and overnight hours for our friends in Jamaica. Again, with some very strong winds there. The winds have yet to reach the western side of the island. Notice Montego Bay is not reporting a stronger gust, but that's a healthy 53-mile-an-hour wind, and it's not just those areas. Portions of Cuba on the southeast coastline have also had some 40-plus, nearly 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. This disturbance is getting stronger. Now, again, these are gusts well away from the actual center of circulation. That's why we don't have a tropical depression or a tropical storm. But on these outer bands on the northern side, it's been very active. Even Port-au-Prince has still had some winds of over 30 miles an hour. But again, for our friends in Jamaica, it's been a wet day. We've had a few lightning strikes coming in, but the winds are another big thing. Let me know in the comments section below. You live in this area, what's been going on? But again, get prepared for more very strong winds and some healthy rainfall right on through tonight and overnight. This is going to spread west, trying to get towards the Cayman Islands. At this point in time, you know, things have been relatively quiet in Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, and Cayman Brac, but you can already see that moisture is on the way. If you look off towards your east, you're probably seeing some low, dark clouds and this lightning and rain beginning to move in. So again, it's going to be an active day in this area. Cuba as well. Ahead of this, storms are breaking out through the Yucatan back down towards Honduras and portions of Nicaragua, again, out well ahead of the major axis of that tropical disturbance. But Cancun, Cozumel, Tulum, inland, Chechemal down towards Belize, somewhat wet, somewhat stormy there. You can see the lightning strike count. There you go. I know there's a couple of hiccups in the satellite data. Apologize for that, but it's not bad. Honduras back down towards Nicaragua. So again, looking at the structure of this, when we look at the visible satellite imagery, it's not crazy impressive. Again, I'm going to bring on the buoy data. Now that's the actual temperature. Let me switch over to the winds. You notice that closer to the center of circulation, the winds are around 20 miles an hour, and then you have 50-plus mile-an-hour gusts in Kingston. That's why we don't actually have a tropical depression or a tropical storm, because one of the key definitions is you have to have the strongest winds and the strongest storms near the center of circulation, and we don't have that development at the lower levels. All right, still a very elongated area of showers and storms, but quite healthy on the northern side with the winds as well. This will continue to obviously track its way off towards the west, and we'll get into the forecast with that as well. Let's take a look at the water vapor imagery while we're here. Again, the center of circulation is almost right about here. There's a few more storms on the southern side, but there is still some drier air on the southwest side. So all of the richest moisture and the strongest winds are well to the north and east of the actual center. So the big question will be over the next 24 to 48 hours is, can this low level of circulation consolidate a little bit better as it gets south of Grand Cayman and closer to northern sides of Central America and the Yucatan? Now, again, the hurricane center does not have this developing now in the northwest Caribbean. It's not until the southwest Gulf of Mexico that we have that possibility. All right. So again, in the short term, more than likely this stays a broad area of some very gusty winds. But again, the impacts are as if there's a weak tropical storm moving through portions of Jamaica right now. That's really what I want to highlight is, despite the fact that this is not a depression or not a named tropical storm, we've got winds of over 50 miles an hour in these storms, Cuba, down towards Jamaica, headed towards the Cayman Islands. Get prepared for it, guys. And again, you live in these areas, let me know. Storms continue to fire up across the northern Gulf Coast states. Again, this is an area that did not develop, but it's still a very wet, stormy day there. It's actually dried out a bit over the Bahamas for today. Have not had a lot of rain from Walker's Key all the way down towards the Acklands. Few storms have tried to develop over portions of Haiti and the Dominican Republic today, kind of on the back end, the tail end of this moisture. So a couple of showers there. And again, some decent wind gusts even towards Santo Domingo today, right around 30 miles an hour. You get east and we do dry out, all right? Not a lot of rain on the board for today for Puerto Rico, the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and the Lesser Antilles. Still some decent wind gusts out of this, though. These are the numbers that you see on your screen. Winds have been freshening up in that 20, 25, even 30-plus mile an hour range. A few showers have developed here and there. Notice not really much in the way of lightning strikes. And again, sorry, there's a couple of bad frames of the satellite data, but we'll manage. And again, the easterlies kicked in across the Lesser Antilles for today. Generally tranquil conditions, a couple of scattered showers here and there. Let's go back over to the enhanced satellite imagery. A couple of little showers could try and sneak into Dominica for today, Martinique, but more than likely, that's just a few clouds sneaking into the area. And we're basically dry. St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Nueva Esparta, and our friends of the ABC Islands. Bermuda, a couple of scattered showers there. We're going to get into this thing coming up in a bit. But when we look at the surface map, there's a lot to talk about. There's our tropical wave. Just basically the axis is right through Jamaica and Cuba, back down towards the northwest side of South America. We do have two more disturbances we'll get into in the Atlantic, again, both with low chances of development. Then along this frontal boundary, this area of low pressure, that's the fourth highlighted area. That is a non-tropical area that could try to develop off of this stationary boundary as it moves north and east. So this could be what we call a subtropical system if it actually develops. We'll be monitoring that. But let's get into right now the main one that's going to be impacting our area. Then we'll talk about the other three. So as I've mentioned very clearly, it's a stormy, windy day for Jamaica, into the Cayman Islands, and Cuba. So how is this going to play out as far as the development potential? Well, let's bring up the GFS model, and we'll loop it up here for you over the next week. Again, it's very unusual that these disturbances are struggling like they are in early September to wrap up. I mentioned in yesterday's video I would give you some of my thoughts about the season so far. I've started that, but it's a long process, and because of this earlier today, don't have it completely finished. Hopefully in tomorrow's video, I'll be able to kind of talk about some of my thoughts as to why the 2024 season has played out the way it has so far. Remember, we had Category 5 Hurricane Beryl to basically begin the season, and then we've had a streak now since August 13th without a named storm, which is the longest streak in 56 years. So let's break down the GFS over the next few days. I want to focus obviously first on what's going to be happening in Southeast Cuba, Jamaica, and the Cayman Islands. Then we'll get to the Yucatan and portions of Central America. Here's the bottom line, guys. The remainder of tonight, it's going to be wet. It's going to be windy. We could have some flash flooding. We could have some power problems with the winds. We could have some localized landslides and mudslides. I don't expect that to be a very wide scale issue, But please check in with your local officials. And again, if you lived in some flood-prone areas of Jamaica or Southeast Cuba or the Cayman Islands, just be aware of that. And again, the GFS model is a little bit paltry on some of the rain moving in, but it does highlight the fact that generally speaking, it's tonight and overnight. The axis of moisture then will move away and weather conditions should improve for Jamaica throughout the day on Thursday. For the Cayman Islands, again, I'll show you the NAM model as well coming up in just a second. There'll be more rain for you on Thursday before it finally alleviates. But we will start to see a lot of this concentrate into portions of Nicaragua, especially into Honduras, coastal Guatemala, Belize, and the Yucatan. But again, over the next few days, you don't see anything really trying to develop. There's a little bit of a spin just off the coastline of Belize towards Guatemala and Roatan, Dangriga area. But this is going to be a rainmaker more than anything. Now, could it still bring 40 and 50 mile an hour gusts just like the Jamaica saw? Absolutely. But again, it won't be near the center of circulation more than likely. So we're not going to get a depression or named storm out of it. But it still could have depression or weak tropical storm impacts. So we need to prepare for that in the Yucatan and then portions of Central America over the weekend. Then as we move into early next week, again, there is a possibility that as it hugs the coastline of Mexico and tries to lift north towards South Texas, that it has a little bit better favorable environment. But again, we've been playing the game of backing up the potential development time over the last few days, and we continue to do that. So we're running out of time, if you will, for this to develop. That's obviously great news, okay? But again, we need to prepare for the fact that we could have some weak tropical storm impacts regardless of whether this actually gets named one or not. And then some of that very heavy rain could move up through Mexico and into portions of the Northwest Gulf Coast, including Texas and Louisiana. So we'll have to monitor that situation. Let me go back over to the NAM real quick, because again, I want to highlight the rain out of this for some of the areas tonight. And again, NAM just doing a little bit better job overall with where the moisture is located with this disturbance. So we'll loop this up again. But for Jamaica, it still is going to be focused throughout the rest of this Wednesday and then overnight. And I do expect conditions, especially the winds, to start to come back down throughout the day on Thursday. Now, the Cayman Islands will get into the act later tonight, overnight, and then deeper into Thursday before it alleviates away. So let's bring up the NAM here. And again, you can just see that through this afternoon, very, very wet day across Jamaica. That then gets into the Cayman Islands overnight through tomorrow morning. Redevelopment of a few isolated showers, kind of just like the Dominican Republic is seeing right now with some 25 mile an hour winds possible for Kingston, Negril, Lucy, Savlamar, all the areas of Jamaica. And then we focus in on the Yucatan and Central America. NAM also doesn't really have anything trying to wrap up before this sloppy system moves over the Yucatan and tries to get into the Southwest Gulf of Mexico. All right. Big time rainmaker, 2 to 4 inches, 50 to 100 millimeters, locally higher. Wind gusts again, and we already have seen it in the Kingston area of over 50 miles an hour. So you're getting basically weak tropical storm conditions, not sustained winds, but in gusts from time to time. I'll go back over to the GFS and bring on the winds. These are going to be our surface-based winds. Go out, same time frame here, and we'll take a look at that. By the way, if you haven't done it yet, you want to do me a big favor, click the like button. If you haven't subscribed to Meteo Mundo and you want to do that as well, click that subscribe button if you want these tropical updates, if you want your daily forecasts across the Caribbean and the Bahamas. I appreciate it. There's a rumble of thunder outside my window right now. How about that? See, there's even some active weather in Florida as we speak. All right, but take a look at this, guys. Again, on the GFS, you're just not going to see a consolidated area here, all right, over the next few days. A broad wind field, but nothing that's wrapped up near that center of circulation. Even as we get deeper into the weekend and then early next week, as we look to the Southwest Gulf, there it is right there, but we still don't see a lot, do we, right? GFS is really weak on that actual development. Hey, you know what I just said? If you wouldn't mind doing it, liking, subscribing to Meteo Mundo, sharing this with your family and friends, and I really do appreciate those who have found ways to support me here at the channel via our memberships, which are just 99 cents a month, the super thanks. You want to find other ways to support the channel, you can find that. There's some links in the description below. Okay, so let's get into the scenarios on the models. We'll start off with the GFS ensembles. I just showed you the deterministic model. These are our 51 ensemble members running on the GFS. Again, take a look at your time frame. Tomorrow, Friday, nothing burger. Saturday, 1 or 2 trying to develop it off the coast of Belize. And then we have a few more early next week in the southwest side of the Gulf of Mexico. But there's not much, right? This is Tuesday, and we finally start to see a couple pop up there. But again, we are playing that game of backing up the development. Now, again, potentially hugging the coastline of Texas. We could try and wrap up something early next week. Overall chance from the Hurricane Center is around 30%. But one more time in the loop, you see nothing in the Northwest Caribbean, basically minus 1 or 2 of the 51 ensemble members, and then a couple of them trying to develop a close center of circulation again, kind of hugging the North Mexican coastline late Monday, Tuesday, and into Wednesday. European model is going to be virtually the same. This is the end of the loop, so we'll talk about it once we get back to the beginning of the loop right here. So on our Wednesday today, nothing. Thursday, Friday, now over the weekend, couple of members here in the southwest side of the Gulf of Mexico. This will start to lift north. So again, if it does develop, we would be talking about potentially Texas and Louisiana early to mid next week as a landfall. But again, the European model has a little bit more as far as some signals there, but nothing too outrageous. So we'll see. But for my friends in the Yucatan and Belize, again, more than likely this is going to be a disorganized area of showers and storms that could still bring some impacts, including kicking up the surf and sea conditions. Our friends in Jamaica and Haiti and Cuba and the Cayman Islands know that right now, but those easterlies will be kicking in. By the way, as well, for portions of the northern side of the Bahamas and especially the United States East Coast, this non-tropical low is really going to bring some high seas to these areas, so keep that in mind. And again, next week, potentially some stronger seas in portions of the Gulf of Mexico. Easterlies continue for everyone else. Fresh wind in most areas, 15 to 25 miles an hour. So I did it again. I have not updated this title in a few days, I apologize. Disturbance in the Caribbean. It's the one we've just been talking about. 30% chance of development as it tracks west. Again, heavy rainfall is expected. Wind gusts over 50 miles an hour. I think on average, it's going to be 2 to 4 inches of rain. That's 50 to 100 millimeters. Now, again, Jamaica's getting it right now. So they're in it. They don't have to monitor because they're feeling it right now. But the Cayman Islands, portions of central and western Cuba, Honduras, Guatemala, Belize, and the entire Yucatan Peninsula need to monitor the progress of this over the next few days. Some of those conditions that portions of Jamaica and Haiti, Dominican Republic, Cuba have seen over the last couple of days will try and move into your area starting late tomorrow, but especially on Friday and into the weekend. So let's talk about the other areas. We'll start with the one that's not going to really impact us. Even Bermuda will get some high seas. They'll get some gusty winds out of this, but this is going to be tracking up parallel to the United States East Coast. Again, this is a non-tropical low. Now, subtropical or non-tropical systems still bear names. So if this wraps up and develops that, it could be known as subtropical Francine if that becomes the next one. We'll see how that plays out. Still have 2 other areas. Yes, I know that the end of this development zone gets very close to the Leeward Islands. But this one right here has about a 10 to 20% chance of development, all right? And you can see that there are some storms to the east of where we have the center. But when we take a look at the water vapor imagery, there's actually a fair amount of drier air here that it's going to have to try and overcome. It's also going to try and gain latitude relatively quickly. So we'll see how this plays out, especially for the Leeward Islands. But at this point in time, this would probably just shoot some rain your way over the next few days, maybe not even until late weekend or early next week. Obviously, I'm going to be monitoring the situation very carefully and then just, really going gangbusters here with a very broad view. Let me bring back on the formation zone. Here's our secondary one here. Now, this one is going to try and track a little bit more due west, but this one still, again, only has a 20% chance of development as well. Let me go over to the GFS and then bring back on the loops, and we'll take a look at what the GFS is doing for these systems. We'll start off with the one nearer the Lesser Antilles right now. You'll notice that it does flare up some rain, and then as it tries to move west, it actually kind of just fizzles out for the most part. The interesting thing is that behind it, at least on the last model run that I just saw, there was a very small area here that tried to develop. Let's see if this newest run picks it up. Doesn't even look like it. There was just this really small spin that was trying to go on the east side of this at about 7 to 8 days. Doesn't look like that's even there anymore. And then on this one, again, it's just so broad, and it also looks like it's going to try and lift north eventually. Bottom line is, neither of these I expect to impact our areas. Obviously, this would be the one to watch out for later into the early part of next week, again, for mainly the Lesser Antilles and the British Virgin Islands and the U.S. Virgin Islands, I suppose. But again, if you can tell the tone of my voice, I don't expect there to be much out of this, but I always keep a vigilant eye for you guys. Before I do that, let's go back over to the models and break down the rain chances island by island. Because obviously I've covered some, but I haven't covered everything. So let's switch over, bring that back up. So I think we've covered fairly well what's going to be happening in Jamaica and the Cayman Islands the next couple of days. Again, from Cancun to Cozumel, Chetumal, San Pedro, Belize City, Roatan, San Pedro Sula. It's going to start getting wet, guys. All the conditions that I just expected. So high rain chances, high rainfall totals, very gusty winds over the next several days. Still going to be some wet weather for Nicaragua and Costa Rica and Panama. You can obviously see that here. It's not going to be as prominent, but it's still going to be a relatively wet forecast. Back over to Hispaniola, Dominican Republic and Haiti. We'll see a few passing showers coming in, just like we've had for today. Nothing very concentrated, but there should be a decent chance for some rain to cool you down. We're going to stay with some good winds as well. It's the same situation for Puerto Rico and the U.S. and the British Virgin Islands. I don't expect there to be a ton of rain every day, but I do expect a few showers to develop with the strong easterly winds that we've seen for St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, Road Town, Culebra, Vieques, San Juan, Ponce, Arecibo, all with decent opportunities for showers. You know, when you don't get the rain in the afternoon, it's going to be hot. We're actually going to get a little bit better chance for rain moving back into the Lesser Antilles over the next couple of days. So Anguilla, St. Bart's, Barbuda, Antigua, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Saba, St. Eustatius, Dominica, Martinique, probably as far north as the best chance for some rain, but we're still going to get some scattered showers. St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago. Just a little bit lower chance overall in those areas. Turks and Caicos, relatively dry, and even the Bahamas, relatively dry forecast. Slightly higher than Northwest Bahamas, but about a 20 to a 30% chance. And I don't expect it to be anything too concentrated, kind of heat of the day storms. As I mentioned, for our friends in Bermuda, they could get clipped as this system moves up to the north, but the bulk of the wind and the heaviest rain will stay north and west of you guys. Look for some higher seas and some swells to try and kick in towards the island if this thing tries to wrap up a little bit more. Now we can talk about the island by island rainfall forecast. 30% chance for the Northwest Bahamas, just a 20% chance for the Central and Southeast. Turks and Caicos, low chance. Cuba's chances are high. Cayman Islands, rain chances, again, really kick in tonight, tomorrow. Still decent rain chances Friday, Saturday. Belize City's rain chances up and up and up with some heavier rain coming in by late Friday. Same thing for our friends in Cancun and Cozumel. Just going to be a wet, sloppy end of the week and into the weekend with that disturbance moving through. Jamaica, 50% chance tomorrow, but obviously it's gangbusters right now, and then lower chances as the disturbance moves away. As I mentioned, for the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, U.S. and British Virgin Islands, nothing extremely concentrated, but a 40 to 50% chance for mainly afternoon showers and storms. Bermuda's best rain chances are tomorrow. Then as that non-tropical low moves away, your rain chances fall. Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, again, more rain coming back in tomorrow and Friday, and it's decent chances. Some areas will have a better chance today, tomorrow. Others with better chances on Friday and Saturday. You'll notice the higher rain chances for Antigua, Barbuda, Guadeloupe, Dominica and Martinique on our Saturday. As you get south, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, slightly lower chances there. Again, as that system moves north and west, there'll be more moisture the farther north across the island chain that you go. Suriname and Guyana with decent rain chances. I don't expect a lot of rain over the next several days. Nueva Esparta and the ABC Islands. Hey, take a look at this. I've animated the European model 7-day rainfall, so you can take a look as this grows over the next 7 days to see when that rain is going to be moving into your area. Notice it's the end of the forecast that we really start to see that heavier rain, obviously in the Gulf Coast. portions of just off of the U.S. East Coast. Some obviously healthy rainfall totals to the western side of the Caribbean. And then there's that next disturbance. Notice it tries to brush, and I mean brush, the Leeward Islands. If it moves farther west, obviously we'd have a little bit more direct impacts. I'll be watching that for you guys. So again, right now, this disturbance is the one we'll be watching. It's bringing some pretty darn nasty weather to our friends in Jamaica. As a matter of fact, just because I feel like it, let's bring back on these winds and see if we've gotten an even stronger wind gust here. So we had 53 in Kingston. Just want to see if Montego Bay has had a wind gust as of yet. Doesn't look like it, but obviously that's the big story. Cayman Islands will be next, portions of Cuba, and then eventually down the road, the Yucatan and portions of the northern side of Central America. Friends, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for following us across all of social media. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, mymeteomundo@gmail.com. You want to send me a picture or video, got a specific question about the forecast, drop it in the comment section below. Again, really appreciate your support. You want to do me a small payback, like this video right now and consider subscribing. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. I'll see you tomorrow with all the latest right here at Meteo Mundo.